Holy crap, kid. Take a break.
Yeah, this is your world, bro. I don't even know if I'm living in it.
What I do?
No, it's good. I'm really actually pretty proud of that.
How bad did I butcher the last name? I've never used your last
You did.
No, it's
Honestly,
you said David.
yeah, it was funny, but like honestly, like the syllables, not it's very easy, and you did a wonderful job.
name. Say it for me. I just want to hear it.
Yannello, that's it. You did it. It's,
Okay. All right.
You're one of
This one didn't butcher it too bad.
no, you're one of like 5 people that's ever done that. That's impressive as crap,
How do you
dude. Like
say it wrong? Like, how do you say Yannello wrong?
because people, it's can't read. I think. Like
Give me an
honestly,
example. Give me a butchering of your last name.
it's
Yellow.
It's I mean just
From them,
it's
your
weird.
name is as Yelleno.
It's strange stuff, man. Yeah, very simple spelling, normal, pronunciation of letters.
I'm a big dog. I probably spent 15 minutes today trying to go over how I thought it was pronounced and practice it in the mirror a few times. No, I'm just playing with it. No, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day. Wade, I know you're driving home, and we'll try to do this as safely as humanly possible, but no, I really appreciate you guys joining in. We've been trying to do this, I feel like, for almost 3 years now, 3 seasons worth now, but we're finally getting it done. So, but Blue Collars podcast and Migra have had some form of relationship now for Waylon. How long has it been? 2 years? 2 seasons?
2 solid years now.
Sweet. Waylon, actually, I'm going to let you jump off first off. Just kind of introduce yourself because you are the man responsible behind this partnership and give you a chance to kind of explain, you and Q-Tip, explain how that whole thing went down.
Yeah, Q-Tip will know this a little bit better, but basically I worked for Higdon Outdoors for about 1.5 to 2 years. Got the sales team there. We were starting up this whole Blue Collars podcast. And, we'd all just slope started it all. And one day I got a phone call from a guy named David Yannello. And he was interested in a dog, some type of dog can and a final stance. Well, and he said, "What's you got available?" We started talking, just like good old boys do. Out of nowhere, I said, "If you don't mind, give me your email." And he gave me his email and told me who he worked for. And I was like, "Oh, that sounds familiar. You guys, shotgun shell company." He's like, "Yeah, man." And we started talking, and lo and behold, I told him about us 4 ding dongs up in Western Kentucky trying to start up a little podcast. Not know what we're doing. We're pretty useful in all of it. We've been hunting all of our lives, but we don't know much about the whole company and sponsorships and all that side. We just do what we love. And we got to talking a little bit. I hooked Q-Tip up with the final stand, and he hooked me up with some shells, and we started a pretty good relationship. I think Q-Tip and we hit it off pretty well, and I started telling him a little bit about us and everything that we're involved in, and you kind of turned into a bunch of two good old boys, and ended up being a lot more along the way, and it turned out to be a pretty good relationship, and now we've been going strong with them for about 2 years now. So sweet.
Yeah, I mean, a really fortuitous conversation. Like I had just got my dog back and getting ready for the hunting season, trying to figure out what I needed to hunt with and what I could do without having a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, I mean, just a normal consumer call, not,
Sweet.
hey, I work, no. And we were just talking.
Sweet.
And, yeah, he totally helped me out on what I needed for him to hunt with. And,
Sweet.
I don't know, man, yeah, one thing led to another, and obviously, like I said, just a Christian background came up, and obviously we talked about the Lord and different things, talked about our faith, and yeah, I was instantly obviously drawn to Waylon, and yeah, just wanted to be supportive of what you guys were doing, like you know, all of us ain't super celebrities. You know, like we have one on the podcast, but no, all of us, you know, and like I said, you know, it wasn't about that. It was about association. I called Wade and I was like, man, these guys are freaking great. They're really, really great people. I called our founder Drew. I said, man, these are really, really great guys. I called Mark and I said, man, I would like to have your blessing to sponsor these guys and give them some shells to shoot because I'd love to be a part of that. You know, in some way, and start a relationship, you know, as friends. I mean, as much as anything, just as friends, you know, and then have guys that are awesome people shooting our stuff. So, long story short, man, you know, that's how it started. You know, love y'all to death, love what you do, and love that you're great people, and love that you're, you know, obviously
Sweet.
shooting our stuff and letting people know. But couldn't have a finer group of people.
Oh, I appreciate that. Definitely.
Yeah, that was the big deal about this. One more side point here. It was a big deal to see. And just a couple days from that conversation, it was like it was nothing. Or sorry, Q-Tip didn't tell me who he worked for right out the gate. We didn't talk none of that stuff. And I'd always thought that sponsorships come from a lot of views on videos and followers, and that he kind of redefined that for me and made it real. And that's what I like about Migra so much. Is it wasn't just because of that encounter, but in the next 2 days we were on a Zoom call with several of the guys from Migra, and they're doing whatever they can to help us out. That was a big thing for us.
Heck yeah.
I think something to point out, there's a lot of those sponsorships that do come from a lot of views and a lot of followers, but there's a stark contrast between the brands that go after people and relationships and not numbers. And I think this is proof of that.
Definitely. I mean, that was just kind of bouncing off what Waylon said. You know, we're still in the early ages of this whole thing. I mean, like Waylon mentioned, we've been doing this. I've been doing this for nearly 15 years, and not the podcast, obviously, but in the industry. And I worked at Higdon as a salesman too before Waylon got there, and Waylon kind of filled in for me when I left. And this was kind of the glue that kept us all together. It was something that originally started out with a crew at Higdon, and it's kind of since transformed into a brothers thing. You know, Waylon and I, there's probably not a very many weekends during duck season that we don't, load the boat up, load the dogs up, and go travel over the Big Hill, Missouri or something, or down to Western Kentucky, some of the WMAs down there. And, years that we're lucky, we have, buddies that we can go hunt with and stuff and take trips. Like we're heading out to Oklahoma in January to go hunt with Zach and JC Brown. You guys know them. So, but it's the cool, this is one of those cool things that we get to do that, and the world where everything costs a fortune, doesn't cost a fortune to sit around and have good conversations with good people, and that's the one thing that I love most about this outlet that we've kind of pursued, and it just keeps getting better, man. I mean, we get good people on here all the time, and like I said, just beyond blessed to have you guys with us today. And one thing, moving into more in-depth conversation, I can remember this year, whenever it was, I guess it was back in August, right as soon as school starts. I'm a high school ag teacher now, so everything revolves around school schedule, And I can remember Waylon calling me on the way home one afternoon. He's like, "Hey, can you swing by FedEx and pick something up?" I'm like, "What the heck is the kid talking about?" He said, "I've got to have somebody that's 21 to sign for whatever this package is." And at this point, I wasn't even thinking, because we hadn't had a conversation about, Migra again for this year's season. It was just, I thought it was a one and done thing personally. And I was like, heck, we had some great stuff going last year, and it wasn't even on my radar yet. And I get to FedEx, and this guy comes out pushing this cart. He said, "Yeah, you need to sign." He said, "There's like eight big boxes." I was like, "Holy crap, what is going on?" And sure enough, Q-Tip had hooked us up with 8 cases of shells for the year. And I'm telling you, man, it was like Christmas in August, brother. It was crazy. It was a cool feeling. It's like one of those things, is like, we start thinking about, Waylon and I had this conversation. It's like, man, we might not be bringing in thousands and thousands of people or thousands of followers or whatever else, but I was like, at least we're consistent as far as who we are as people. And I was like, I feel like that's one of our biggest goals, is to stay consistent. That's kind of been our goal with this whole thing. So, but I can't tell you how much y'all meant to us, meant to this whole dream of the podcast starting out. Because I mean, between us, you guys were the first one that really gave us a shot.
Sweet.
And Mitre was the first ones that really took the chance on us and believed in us to get us up off the ground. So we definitely appreciate that 100%. So, but
Yeah, man, and we are, Wade and I are really able to do what we do because of the people that we work for and our team. They give us a lot of latitude to touch people, and they really do trust, our judgment. And like I said, man, it's a big team effort. We got a great group of people that support, everything that each other does. I mean, we always try to pick up each other, and we're small. I mean, like, we're still very, very small. There's
Sweet.
about 13 of us, that's making these crazy ripples, and we're grinding, we're working really hard. But yeah, it's good, man. We got a good team, man, and we're super happy to have you guys.
absolutely. We'll kind of segue into talking about making ripples and grinding. Tell us, you guys are right smack in the middle of boat ramp tour right now. How's that going? What's it looking like so far? I mean, I've seen the pictures on Instagram, but I want to hear the stories. Like, how's it going?
Go ahead, Wade.
Man, it's good. It's stretched out. I would say that it's last year was our first year to do it, and it was a success on all accounts. This year was different, man. We started out. We had a camera guy, which they both did it last year, but they always were separate. We had them in separate time slots.
Right.
This year we decided to have two, and we've got our buddy
Sweet.
Travis and our buddy Hunter, and they both do it full time, and they're great at what they do. We have one guy doing shorts and one guy doing long format. And man, it's been a learning curve using two guys. We thought it would be, hey, we'll catch everything, and it turned into one's with somebody all the time and one's with another. But we didn't figure it out to the end of that we should be swapping these people on a daily basis so we can, you know what I'm saying? So it can be kind of an even deal there. Man,
Sweet.
last year, I think the whole season was a struggle to shoot ducks. As far as us, it was almost like you should have been here yesterday, or man, you should have stayed a couple more days. Every time we went somewhere, and this year, we've consistently shot birds everywhere we've been. Like we're not shooting 80, but I mean, we're shooting 10 or 20. I mean, like, we're having decent odds. The problem this year is when we were there was no people. And man,
Sweet.
for the boat ramp tour, this may not be the answer you were looking for, but this is like transparently how it's going. It's a constant, evolving of like what we're doing and where we're going. And we realized that we could stay where we were at and shoot ducks, but we couldn't find the people that we were after. And boat ramp tour priority number one are the people. Priority number two is product like placing in their hands, educating them on the product. Priority number three, tertiary, that's ducks. So that's number three on the list. So if we're shooting ducks, that's cool, but if we're not finding people, we got to go somewhere else. It is going great, and it ended up before it was all over. We had everything and more that we needed on with people, and we're able to give out a lot of shotgun shells so far, some t-shirts and hats, hoodies, and man, a lot. So it's going well. But it has been a learning curve for week one, just adding another guy in the mix and just going to a different place when we expected to have more folks, and we didn't. But dude, by all accounts, it's full pedal to the metal. Well, however you want to put it. We're at 100 right now.
As far as company initiatives go, smack dab in the middle of duck season, this might be one of the coolest plans and follow-throughs that I think I've ever seen in the outdoor industry. I mean, it's 100% real. It's 100% legit. Like you're literally showing up to a boat ramp and Lord knows where with Lord knows who's showing up to hunt. And it's like, you just show up and it's like, hey, here we are. Like,
Sweet.
Try this stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's the cool thing about it. To me, it's just, face value. It's just a really, really cool, setup for you guys.
Well, there's a lot of things, that you could say about that. But, briefly,
Sweet.
we're a very small ship with a really, really huge rudder. And obviously that gives us, again, a lot of latitude to be able to operate and change things on the fly. And again, that goes to, the team. But people really don't understand what it looks like. Like people,
Sweet.
it is
Sweet.
very, very hard. It's not everybody knows the grind of public hunting for 10 days, 12 days, whatever that winds up being for us, depending on birds, weather, water, whatever that is. So, like, we have a schedule that we're trying to stick to the best we can, but you have to call audibles. Because, like, opening morning, me and one of our cameramen went to 3 boat ramps. Well, A, trying to get in the water because it was obviously strange. But
Sweet.
B, most importantly, the thing was actually trying to find people at those places. It was bizarre because there were so many birds. But there were actually birds to hunt. But we were looking for people.
Opening day.
Yeah. I'm riding around 3 boat ramps for an hour and a half trying to find people. And there's places that I could have slid in, but it was like, dang, I still ain't found nobody. Maybe go down here. Maybe go down here. Maybe go down here. And luckily, we had some friends that were running the hole, held the place down, spent the night in the hole, slept the hole. But it's like, man, there's so much.
Sweet.
It's not just public hunting. There's so many variables, and you have to be able to change, and you have to be able to change fast. And, dude,
Sweet.
I'm not saying anything special about Wade or myself, but I am saying that it takes a different type of person to be able to do that and actually execute it. Like what you said a while ago, to actually execute it. The plan is great, right? The plan is so freaking cool. But executing it can be different every day, and you're just like, oh my. Because you have so many people you're obligated to, right? I mean, like, and you've got to get the content, you've got to get the interaction. At the end of the day, you really need to be killing birds. I mean, that's you need it for content. You've got 2 cameramen you're riding around with.
You need it for your soul too, though.
Absolutely, man.
You gotta get it.
You go 4 or 5 days like we did last year and not pull the trigger and floating around on freaking icebergs. You know what I'm saying? And wearing out you, boat, dog, truck, everything you got, you just feel like you're gonna die. And you're not killing birds. That's tough too. That's tough on a cameraman, man. You towed around a guy, for 3 or 4 days, and that mug sitting there looking at the sky. Rough. And last year, man, like Wade said, collectively, ain't nobody shot a whole lot of birds, man. Last year was tough, dude. I mean, it was really, really bad.
You had a week in January that made sense.
Yeah, before and after, it was freaking awful. So.
Sweet.
But,
Sweet.
all in all, man, we've been blessed. Like we really have. We've been safe. Hey, like we've came back home to our families every time. We've not gotten hurt, which is very important. It's freaking dangerous out there during that freeze, man. I look back at it. There's things I would never do again. I would never launch my boat in. I mean, it was just, it's just very, very cold and very dangerous. Like, honest to God, dude, like water temps, for cameramen and stuff, like it was sketchy, dude, to put people in that situation that probably wasn't as prepared as they should be. And it's a lot, man. Like, it's just, it's a ton. So you got to be cognizant of all those things and all those variables and still, make the initiative happen. And it's a lot of stress. Wade can tell you, there's anxiety that comes with it, to get things done. And yeah, man, we care about one another. We're going to watch out for each other, and we're going to do the right things, and we'll make it work. It's just, it is a lot.
Yeah. That's kind of, segueing off of that a little bit, but, our Waylon and myself, we've got 2 more brothers, and we've, public land hunting, typically you can hunt 4 people to a spot, and it was, God blessed us with our perfect little hunting party, growing up. And it was one of those things that we always utilized that because most of us, I mean, for the majority of our time hunting, if we wanted to go hunt somewhere, we wanted to go hunt with folks. We wanted to go hunt with brothers, and on top of that, we always split 4 ways, buying decoys, or, buying boats, or fixing up. I can't tell you, it's headshot.
Paid it for your boys at school?
Well, them and my brothers too. Like my younger brother, the one in between Waylon and I, he bought me boat over the summer, and that was the first project we did in shop was let's pull that 17-foot boat in. We get it for so it's cool, being able to do that stuff. But segueing off of that, as a camera guy myself, Wade, I'm sure you can speak to this too, but I'm constantly trying to get content for Hippie, Momars, all those guys, and trying to get content that I can share myself to support that we use. So, we've got a YouTube channel. trying to build content that can build up our files, share throughout the page too. Kicks and ducks. If you're talking about it's hard on the camera guy when he's looking at a place. That's some sucks.
It is. It's hard, even if you're shooting birds. If you're doing it for 5 days in a row, like just your creative battery just drains.
Right. And so you have those mental conversations. I can't tell you how many times I've had this in the last 3 or 4 years, but it's like you start having those conversations with yourself. It's like, oh, what's the use? We'll just leave the camera in the truck today. We'll just go out there with a gun, and I hate getting to that point, but it does happen to everybody, and it's especially when you get that that lull of the season where the weather's kind of not cooperating, or the birds aren't here, and we're public land guys. I mean, we've always hunted public land growing up. Waylon, how many times have we driven to Missouri so far this year?
Not too many.
Too many. How many times have we got to go home because we didn't get drawn? It's just like,
It's tough.
that stuff happens. And that's, that kind of adding in the whole blue collars aspect of it. We all work, quote unquote, blue collar jobs, on our 9-to-5 day jobs. I mean, Waylon works in the ag industry. I'm a teacher. Hayden brothers work in the ag industry. So it's like, during the week, we're doing, we're going to work. On the weekends, that's our tenant. Some people say that that's the whole reason I became a teacher, is we get these 2 soft Christmas. And it's like, that's all I do, break this in that. So, Wade, let's kind of talk a little bit with you real quick on that camera stuff. You mentioned, we were talking earlier about, how you kind of started in the industry. I just want to give, because we've got some unique listeners as far as people that may not be involved directly with the hunting or outdoor industry, that may not know you. I know everybody knows who Wade Shoemaker is, but for the few that are listening, may not know you.
I can't get away from that. Y'all can't get away.
Oh my God!
Don't encourage Q-Tip in that.
Well, he opened the door, so I had to walk through it. But anyway, so just tell us how you got started, man. I know you've been in the whole industry doing your thing for a while, but tell us how it started. I know you're a camera guy. I feel that. I want to know really what kind of drew you to this whole world.
Sweet.
Man, I don't know about what drew me to it. I think it was just a natural progression. Grew up in the country, hunted squirrels and ducks, whatever, squirrels and deer, and then shot a duck in the creek every now and then, and finally went on public with my buddies when I was 19. And then anyway, grew up, hunted, thought it was cool, and then all of a sudden decided I liked, some phone photos, pics. The ducks had to be bright, had to be kind of aesthetic, and I didn't know why I was wired that way. I just knew it just felt right, and
Sweet.
I'd never seen like aesthetic images for hunting, belly down on a hay bale, a guy holding a box of shells, and I just didn't like that. So anyway, fast forward, man, I got married when I was 25. 6 months into it, my wife and I took a full-time position in our church as youth pastors. And man, depending on your experience as a youth pastor, it can go a couple different ways. My way went, there's no budget, so be creative and figure out how to be, whatever you want to be.
Sweet.
So I figured out that I had to be creative, and I had no idea that I was a creative person. Learned that through that, just spare the details, and through
Sweet.
all that, I ended up figuring out in that first, probably year and a half of there, I was heavy into the duck hunting at that point. I wasn't any good at it, still not, but I did it a lot. So like I was able to look up stuff and hang out. And anyway, I figured out there was a world of like pro staff and ambassadorship and stuff like that. And it gets a bad rap, but it comes from a good place. And I got on it years ago. Dakota Decoy was like my first real one. And then through that, I got on Rig'em Right. And man, Rig'em Right honestly was a blessing, dude. Like I stuck with them. I still love the brand. I love the guys that are involved there. They sent me to my first show. And I just went to shows with them and for them and through them. And then they sent me off to a couple of things that was not normal for them. They sent me to Minnesota one time. But the short of the long is I got in, and man, when I got in those staffs, I just talked to people, networked, shook hands, as many as I could. like as many, I mean, like an asinine amount of people that I tried to connect with in those few years. And, at some point, I grabbed a camera because my buddies were taking photos of the camera. But before that, I had a GoPro and met up with some guys in Oklahoma. We had a cool hunt, took some cool photos, and I'm spacing a lot of details, but
Sweet.
through all that, I won a contest, the City Merge contest, and got to go to Bozeman, got to hang out, and just got to kind of see that world. And I was already at my wits' end. I worked at the railroad, went 3 years at the church, and I'm back at the railroad now. Won this contest, and I was already at my wits' end with managing the railroad department I was in, and I was like, this is it, I'm done. Quit my job. Talked to my wife. She had 2 incomes. I would have had none when I quit, and I was like, if you're good with it, I'm doing it. And I quit my job with no plan other than I knew a lot of people, and I had a camera. I bought a professional grade camera, and it was elite, and we did it. And 2 weeks after we did it, I was watching the Pacquiao Mayweather fight. But I was in Lake Charles with a buddy, and we were watching the fight outside of Buffalo Wild Wings. We had already eaten dinner. And that's a different time. It was the time they fought, the first time they fought.
Okay.
I think they fought twice. It was a boxing match. I was watching it. I was sitting at the house in the garage. Rick Richard called.
Okay.
Yeah. He was like, hey, bro, do you know how to run a camera, a video camera? I was like, well, I know what the buttons do. You just tell me where to point it, I'll figure it out. So my first ever freelance job was for Higdon Outdoors Television, and I filmed in North Dakota, Alberta, and Wichita Falls, Texas. And then it just exponentially increased from there to now.
Yeah, that's too cool, man. That is too cool. I mean, kind of same way with you. My whole media side of things came from where I started at Higdon. And
Sweet.
I mean, jumping off what you said, I had that mindset. It was like tired of sitting around wondering, what could I do with a camera? Or, why can't I make those pics look that good? Or why can't I make that pop, And it got to the point where I was like, man, I could make some money doing that, and money gets tight every so often. I'm telling you, the thankfulness that I have, that I've been able to have a camera or two in my hands.
Sweet.
Times got tough. I mean, people are always getting married, Everybody always wants to have a camera guy at a family event or something like that. It's like,
Sweet.
being good with a camera can pull you out of a lot of tough spots,
Sweet.
Yeah, that's true.
Q-Tip, I got a question for you. I got 2, actually. Don't fall asleep on us yet.
I ain't.
But the first one, I want to know how you got the Q-Tip name first. And then I want to know kind of the same thing about Wade. I've heard this before. That's why I'm asking. But then I want to kind of hear about how you got started, why you get started, everything you're doing.
So the nickname, man, I was and I grew up riding dirt bikes, from little bitty. And I guess 14, I started racing, and I raced up until I was,
Sweet.
man, right before I started my business, middle 20s.
Sweet.
But so when I started, the man was Jeremy McGrath. Seth Enslow, all those guys. I loved watching those guys free ride and obviously race, and they were our heroes. And
Sweet.
all my buddies, man, we used to just color our hair and do stupid crap, the normal things. And mine, I bleached as white as it would be. I would bleach it 2 or 3 times, like simultaneously. Just bleach to get it white. And it would be like white.
Sweet.
And so 15, I started. My stepdad, he worked in a body shop. And, always full with old cars and all that kind of stuff. So I was really drawn to that, little kid, working on old cars. And 15, got my first part-time job. I was working at McDonald's, and then I was working at the body shop under an apprenticeship, from school. So I'd show up at the freaking, body shop with my dirt bike on the back of the truck, getting ready to get practice somewhere in the afternoon, summertime, and I'd go work until, 6:30, whatever, and leave and go and practice, with my buddies. And I'd show up there, man, just that kid, baggy clothes, white hair, all that. And I was about $125.
Sweet.
And still small, but very little then. The guys that worked there, body shop's rough. Nobody ever worked body shop, especially in the middle 90s. It was real rough. You caught a lot of crap. And
Sweet.
so one of the guys there said, hey, man, you look like a little Q-tip, with that white head, little skinny little fella, got that white mop, on top of your head. And, I just put my little head down, and stood outside on the asphalt and kept water sanding cars, and I wouldn't say nothing. Just, quiet, kid, man, and all these guys would call you all kind of things. Well, Q-tip stuck. And, so my friends would kind of come by, they would just holler for me, Q-tip, come here and do this, take out the trash, Q-tip, wash this car, Q-tip, sand this car. And it just happened, so, when I met my wife, I was Q-tip, and I mean, so all my friends, and then obviously when I went to, work, I mean, I was Q-tip naturally. So small town, man, 50,000 people, whatever. Everybody knows everybody, and I've always been Q-tip. So now it just carried over into this job. When I call somebody, it's just Q-tip. It's on my business card. I mean, if anybody says David, it's generally my mama, and that'd be the only person that would call me David. But yeah, that's how that happened. And the hunting thing, man, I was hunting before I married my wife. I really got hardcore into deer hunting. 16, like really hardcore 16, 17 when I wasn't, racing. I'd be in the woods, during deer season and go do some duck hunting, shooting woodies with my buddies. And then when I got to be about 24, I went and shot my first mallards, and I was with Drew. Well, mallards hunt. I went with Drew, our founder. I met Drew, a little side note, I met Drew. Drew's dad had just passed away with cancer. Very young, and Drew was young. And around that time, I had gotten saved. I was a born again believer, and I don't really know. I can tell you the reason, we kind of crossed paths, and I can look back on it, was to mentor him. Drew's, a good 6-7 years younger than me. And at that time, that was a lot of age difference. I mean, like that was a lot. At that point in time, I'm 25 and self-employed, just started my company, thought I was a real adult. And it was insane how life was taking a lot of twists and turns. But I meet Drew, and we go duck hunting. We love it, and we just became really, really, really close, really fast, and still are. So, anyways, I have my company. My company's kind of going. Drew's still going to school. We're hunting. Drew calls me one night, and he's like, man, he gets out of school. He's taking a couple of jobs, doing his thing, trying to find his way. And he's like, hey, man, I want to make shotgun shells. I was selling forklifts to these people, and they make, like, defense rounds. And he's like, what do you think about this? And I was like, oh, no, here he goes again. I was like, man, don't get sidetracked, dude. Go to work, whatever. And he's like, oh, man, I want to do this. I want to do it. I want to make a shotgun shell. And I was like, dude, you are going to get pounded. I mean, because, a lot of brands were at the height then. Premium brands had just kind of started to be really good. 06, 07, 09, you started seeing all these big brands come out. Bismuth started happening, and being more prominent. And I was like, dude, God bless, like I knew what it was like to start my own company, but in corporate America, in the waterfowl world, like, you're young. How is this going to happen? Long story short,
Sweet.
he tries it. He's making shields. We've got them in Ziploc bags, and he's trying all these different things. And he said, man, one of these days, Drew's always been very mature, at a young age, understanding business, and his dad taking him around a lot of businessmen at a young age, from hunting to all types of things. He's like, you're going to sell your company one of these days to an equity group, and then it's going to happen, and this company's going to get to going, and you can just sell it and just come to work for me, man, and we'll just hunt. And I'm like, you're a nut. I mean, you're an absolute freaking, you're a nut, But fast forward to where we are right now. That's exactly what happened. I mean, to the T. Honestly, I had been really praying about that for my company, because it was, the body shop business really started to take a turn, from insurance companies to, all types of variables. But in a small town, help starts to get small. Your work pool, what to choose from gets smaller. A lot of different things. I was like, Lord, if there would somebody be interested in this, I really would love it. And then, I really would, because I want to do something different. Really not knowing what that would be. Migra, is getting big enough to accommodate another person. It just happened. So here we are, like I'm doing outfitter sales. I had a relationship with quite a few already just from hunting, just from hunting. And outfitter program has kind of birthed already, by John, one of our other coworkers, and it was small.
Sweet.
Now outfitter program is rather big. We've grown it into a pretty massive little unit there, over the last 3 or 4 years. that's kind of where I'm at. We get this idea that we want to go give shills out at a boat ramp. Now we're on boat ramp tour. We just kind of doing our thing, man. And
Sweet.
Wade's a really big head of that. From the marketing efforts. Now we got Taylor. Taylor, writes the ship when we need it writing, and keeps us organized. And we're all just a big group, man. Trying to make it happen.
That's a crazy story. That's a good story. Well, I want you to know that ever since I met you first time or talked to you with the phone, you told me your name is Q-Tip. Every time I go to clean my ears, I think about you. So
and that makes me feel really, really good.
You know what's funny though? And people ask me why he call him Q-Tip. I'll tell them, you gotta ask him what the story is. But I tell people it's because he's always in everybody's ear.
Ain't no doubt. Well, here's the thing, man. When I touch a Q-tip, I always look down because I clean my ears every day. I'm one of those weird guys. And I look at it and I'm like, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's, man, it's an interesting story. We all got cool stories, how we were. And I think, it's a really cool thing of how everything's worked out and everybody meets people. And, I guess one of the more interesting things about this industry and this little season of life and this journey is people. Like the people that you get to meet, the people that you come to know and you cross paths with, and the great relationships. It's a lot of fun, man.
sweet.
Yep.
Well, guys, don't go anywhere. We've got more to come with Mr. Q-Tip, Mr. Wade. We're going to have a quick message from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
And action. You got it. Okay, so this is kind of a traditional zero grade concealed comfort pit, and we just have it on this mowed off bar out here. But you can see that these ragtop blind lids, they're just so simple. Like, we've had all kinds of contraptions with hog panels and circular lids that move around and all that. Man, they're just cumbersome, and you can get hung up in them. And these things, there's just nothing to get hung up in. They just simply push out of the way when you go to shoot. From a concealment standpoint, it's excellent. From a user-friendly standpoint, being able to shoot unencumbered, nothing to get caught up in, and excellent hideability. I think these are really going to help a bunch of people to be more concealed, more comfortable. So yeah, check them out. Higdon Ragtop Blind Lids. Pretty cool product.
And we're back with this week's episode of TheBlueCallers Podcast. We're moving into a segment that we've just decided to kind of bring about, but the whole reason we're here is really to tell stories and to share information. So I want to give Q-Tip and Wade both the opportunity to, and I don't care if it's deer, turkey, waterfowl, whatever it is, I want to give both of y'all the opportunity to tell that story that is just always in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? Like that one that just sticks out of all of it. So like I said, I don't care if it's a squirrel, whatever it is. Why don't we start with you? Give us that story. Don't waste any time. Not giving the details, but we want to hear it. What's that story for you?
Man, there really is more like, it used to be like the funny, the crazy, we saw Sasquatch or something, but like it really isn't. It still is. That's fun and crazy, but like for me, like it really kind of goes to a little more sentimental side of things now that I've got a couple of boys that run around, and I guess getting old. I don't know, man. But I've been able to take my son hunting on a couple hunts, and man, we've had some public land stuff that we did, and we got some snow goose stuff, and I'll hit them. It's really not, the details really aren't crazy. It was just simple as I took him on a hunt in the ice last year during the freeze, and I wasn't going to take him because it was 13 degrees, but like he would have never forgiven me if I would have been like, oh, it's just too cold. So I was like, well, he's going to figure it out today. He's 7. And we've got, I've got great clothes for him. He wears a bunch of clothes. And then we get out there, man, and it's supposed to be like a 10 or 12 minute boat ride. Turns into like an hour because everything's frozen. You can't when you usually can go through a reed set or in between reeds, even with shallow water, you can't. There's 1.5 inches ice in the water. Like it just don't work out that way. Anyway, the boat ride took forever. We get there about 20 minutes before shoot time, and our buddy's already in the hole. There's ducks going everywhere. I've got the heaters on his hands. He's trying to warm up. We get decoys out. We get in the reed set. ducks are coming from everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. And I've never seen it like this, especially at this place. And my son's freaking out, dude. And he just out of nowhere, like, he just looks up, he goes, "This is the greatest day ever." You know, like, "This is the greatest day of my life. This is my life," or "This is the greatest day ever," or something. But he just went nuts, dude. Like, out of nowhere said it. Wasn't a conversation going. He just blurted it out. And I just looked over at him and I was like, "Oh, this is it, dude." He goes, "Well, except maybe that one hunt when we killed a speckled belly at the lake." You know, like, that's just kind of how he thinks. And, you know, it's fun, you know. And anyway, we shot 7 limits of ducks on public with my son. We tried to get him to shoot a duck that day, but he had his hands in the water the entire morning before he got cold, after he warmed up. And I didn't know it. And I'm like, "What is he? You know, he shouldn't be cold. I've got all these hand warmers and all this other stuff going on."
Yeah.
Well, the short of the long, he was freezing and hurting. And when he gets upset and complains about something like that, it's bad, because he's not going to complain. And man, I had to undo my waders and stick his hands on my stomach and like zip everything up so he could, because that's the warmest place on your body, dude. I said, "Drake, I'm gonna tell you something. One, don't tell your mama. You better know I love you, son, because I'm never gonna do this for anybody else." Man, that's one that I'll never forget. And then, shoot, man, February, we want a snow goose hunt. He makes goose hunting better than he does ducks. We shot 70 snow geese in a field with some pals. He had one of his friends there because it was one of my buddy's kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, just unreal. I got a video I can send you. He just loved it because there's, you know, a few hundred snow geese in. We shoot 28 out of a group. He's beside himself. And then last one that I can remember, dude, my papa, we went hunting this year. Me and my papa and my 2 boys, little blind, we shot 11 ducks together. And I mean, we shot them at 15 yards. And I think that will probably be forever one of my favorite hunts with them, because my papa and my 2 boys, and that was it. And we shot them right in front of us. And it was just a cool first 3 mallards on the lake of the year that day. So it's just, I'll never forget that. But
Like that.
no details spared. That simple, but those are the things that I think I'll start remembering more than the others.
I love it. I love it. Q-Tip, you're up, man.
Man, there's a lot, you know, like, honestly, I mean, some of my first hunts, you know, that I went on as a young man, as far as just speaking of waterfowl, obviously, I love shooting turkeys.
Like
Had
that.
a great turkey hunt this year that was one of my favorites. Me and a friend, we shot 2 4-year-olds in one day, which was super sick. I look back at the season that I'm in right now. One of the more important things for me right now is hunting my dog. I love it. It's been one of the coolest things. I don't have kids, but watching him, me and Wade were together, obviously, for boat ramp tour last year, opening day in Louisiana.
Like that.
And
Like
it
that.
was the first time that I was actually going to run max, and we're in a hole, and it was slow as crap. I had got a call from my best friend that was in hospice care at that time. He was passing away with cancer. And he said, "Hey, man," he said, "I need a picture of that dog, you know, picking up his first bird." And as luck would have it, we shot one bird, and it was a wood duck. And I got that picture, man, of Max, of that wood duck in his mouth. And I texted it to him, and I got back home a few days later, and obviously I held his hand as he passed away. But that was a special morning, man, after all the work and all the effort and everything that I had put into getting my dog ready to go, and the relationship, the bond that me and him have. But to get him go and do that, watch him pick up his first bird, even though we shot one duck that morning, and it was a wood duck. It was one of my favorite hunts. And I'd look back too, and I would look. Wade and I was at a little public spot, just me and Wade and a photographer last year. We landed. I mean, honestly, probably one of the better hunts of my life, just because of the quality. And I'm not this purist guy, you know. Like, I'm still mad at him, but for me and him to work the groups of ducks that we did, and landed several hundred mallards, you know, at our feet.
That's
just me and him together.
like
It
that.
was just a cool, freaking intimate setting, dude. Like, it was one of the cooler things, and we had such a rough year, man. We really did. We had a rough year, and we got on some birds there for a few days. Man, we had some of the best mornings, but that morning in particular sticks out in my mind. You know, we shot our birds, and watching him get to work, and watching Max pick up his birds and stuff, and you know, just seeing all that, and just, we really didn't even say a whole lot that morning. It was just so freaking enjoyable, nice, and it was just it was really cool. And then, you know, we went with one of our outfitters at the time during the freeze, and we were shooting 100 birds a day, man, because they had nowhere else to go. Again, Wade and I and a cameraman and a couple of friends, but Wade and I and a cameraman, you know, and watching your dog freaking, you know, a year old climbing up on freaking, you know, 2 inches of ice and retrieving 100 birds. Super sick. But last year was pretty special, man. Like it really was. You know, Boat Ramp Tour was in its infancy.
Yeah.
And you know, Wade and I really spent a lot of time together, and it was good, man. There was a lot of really good times there and a lot of growth, and I'll never forget that ever. You know, like I said, there's a lot of hunts, man. You know, we went up there near you guys in Kentucky one year, 4 or 5 years ago, 6 of us, and we hunted one day and 5 inches of rain. I had to load my boat up with no bilge and freaking empty the boat out 3 times, crazy crossing the Ohio River, and shot a lot of ducks. We found them. We found them up there and shot a lot of ducks. I think about a lot of stuff like that. You know, those intimate times, you know, that hunt with he and I, that was probably one of my better hunts I've ever had. You know, it was just so freaking cool. It didn't even seem real.
Like that, those are some of the best ones when it's one of those situations where like it could go really, really good, or you could just be sitting out in the water. I love those days that you don't go out there anticipating to have a good day. It's just like you kind of
Definitely last year.
you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
last year was just like that. It was like you're almost going through the motions because you're like, you only get so many days to hunt, and you're like, I want to be out there. You can't kill them if you're on the couch or whatever, you know. And that'll, like that was saying, it's, and then you get out there and everything just goes perfectly, like that. Those are the days that you know keep you at it and keep you coming back for it. Just real quick, just because I want to see Waylon's reaction and just see if he remembers this story or not. But one of the best hunts, waterfowl hunts, that sticks out in my mind, like that 4 brothers, we go down to a little WMA that we had to, you know, stand in the pour line, get drawn. We're like one of the last ones to get drawn. We could have just gone home, you know, because it was one of those spots that like nobody like that wants to go hunt at, you know. And it's one of the things. It's like we were like, oh, we're down here. We might as well just. We're already up. We might as well go hunt. And I'm trying to remember. I'm thinking it was called a honey slough or something like that. Like that. All 4 of us brothers, and we were all just lined up in this little cypress tunnel, basically. Like that. I bet there wasn't 6 inches of water in this hole, and it was cold. And we had sit there, we had a few birds look at us, but nothing was ever, you know, landing. Well, I was out in the middle of the decoys, as one does, you know, going out there. Well, we'll just change this up, see what happens. And I'm in the middle of the spread. And like I said, it's a cypress tunnel, so big tall trees on both sides. And like that probably wasn't 80 yards wide from one side to the other. And about that time, my older brother yells at me and says, "Hey, shoot that goose." Like that. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Didn't make a sound, didn't see nothing. About that time, I turn around and look up, and there's this snow goose floating above my head at about 50 yards. And like I said, snow could not have been there. Nowhere near that location. Like that, I shot it, and it smacked the ice about 15 feet from me. And I turn around and look at the boys, and we're all just got that dumbfounded look. What the heck? Waylon, you remember that? You were young whenever that happened.
That was a long time ago.
So really, that was like when we first started duck hunting together. I mean, I'm willing to say I was probably a freshman in high school whenever that happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, on a lighter note, just to kind of wrap us up, I know we've been going for a while, but on a lighter note, one segment that we did back in season 1 that I've been dying to bring back is a thing we called Snack Shack. And basically what this is, just to kind of give you a little explanation, is we always allow our guests to tell us, like, what's that go-to snack, whether in the deer blind, the duck blind, in the turkey woods, like that doing, if it's in your pocket or in your blind bag, whatever, what's that go-to snack that you always got with you if you're in the woods?
Man,
Like that.
Mine's easy.
Like
I
that.
know what Tips is. Go ahead, Tip.
Peanut M&Ms. It's just, I mean, it's a fact. If you see me, you're gonna see peanut M&Ms.
Yeah. And when they get cold and they get really crunchy, like that
Best thing on the planet.
And you can't just do regular.
I just ain't nothing no better, dude.
The
regular ones don't get it.
No, man. And I'll tell you, the chocolate on the peanut M&Ms, it's not because of the peanuts. That's a different chocolate. It's like more milk chocolate than the other one.
It is.
But
Like that.
Yeah.
Well, Q-Tip, do you ever like bite halfway through it and see if you can pull the whole peanut out?
I have, but usually it's just a handful and just mouth them bugs, man. I mean, just absolute mouth them and enjoy them. And they go really well with coffee. So if you take some coffee in your peanut M&Ms, it will be great. And then, you know, man, we got a guy, man, here lately. I mean, so our cameraman, Hunter, he always brings some boudin with him. And we got
food.
Yeah, dude, we got a little flat top. And so that would be my number 2. If we got Hunter, boudin is going to be
Like that.
Yeah, it will.
Hunter and Nasty will bring some boudin when he comes up, too.
Yeah, you just gotta have toilet paper. When they start that, you better have toilet paper, and you better be looking for dry ground.
I had to replace. Well, I ain't replaced it yet, but I will. I still owe you a hot hand tip.
No doubt.
Didn't have toilet paper.
Like that.
No, it actually isn't a bad deal. Just trust me.
It's a boudet.
I see it. I see it.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right, Wade, what about you?
Man, I'm gonna have used to it was. I'm a fruit snack guy, and I love that. But
Like that.
Walmart used to sell tangy fruit smileys. They still do.
Okay.
They changed
Yeah.
everything about, like, from something last year, they changed them. We bought a box, I ate one package, and we threw them away. I was like, they changed it, everything. So Mott's is a thing that I enjoy now, but peanut M&Ms is up there. But you've got to have like a soft baked good or something to go with it. A lot of people use honey buns. I eat those, but man, if it's a warmer temperature, it's a powdered donut. Hostess, I love, and Christmas tree cake, of course, but like Little Debbie she's my Christmas tree girl, but she ain't got nothing on Hostess donuts. Like Hostess powdered donuts when it's warmer, and then when it's cooler, you got to go glaze. Cause I love Hostess powdered donuts, but when they get cold, they taste like Play-Doh.
And it's like eating concrete, man. It's like you got to break.
No good. But that would be if I'm dead to the world and I don't even know what to get at this store, I'm subconsciously looking for donuts, fruit snacks, and peanut M&Ms.
I think that's snack. Go ahead, Q-Tip.
No, he's good for a sour gummy too, and that's one thing I really, really appreciate about him. I'm not a candy guy, see. Golly, man, he is good for a sour gummy, and I'll always
I'm a candy. What do you call it? A connoisseur of candy or a candy aficionado? Yeah.
It's funny. The whole reason we brought this segment about was because, you know, it's those early mornings at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning where nothing else is open besides the gas station. And you got to run in there because you're like, I don't want to get out there and be out there all day and not have anything to snack on.
And have something to chew on.
You got to have something. So that's why we brought that back. I've been dying to hear, other people's stories. Christmas cakes, the Christmas tree cakes are my go-to, especially this time of year, just because it's the only time that you can get them and it just fits.
To last you through January.
That's true. That is true. Got
absolutely
awesome. Well, guys, I'm serious. I know we've gone longer than I thought we would, but I love it. It's been great conversation. Yes,
45 minutes to an hour before we got started.
You're right. You called it. But guys, seriously, everything that you do, we appreciate it. Honestly, we could throw back the success to this whole idea, this whole dream to you guys. And y'all have supported us from day one, and you don't know how much we appreciate that. We love the product. Like that. Basically anything y'all are pushing out, you guaranteed it's gonna be in our guns at some point. So we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. Like that. We love the relationship we've built with you guys. Looking forward to what comes next down the road. Thanks for taking the time. Listeners, you can find this on YouTube, Spotify, and coming soon, it will be on Apple Podcasts. All of our season 3 will be on Apple Podcasts here coming soon. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Check out next week's episode. We're going to have TikToker Trent Ellis. He's a big outdoors guy, big deer hunter, but you've probably seen him on TikTok. He's going to be on the podcast next week. And then the week following that, we're going to have Mr. Seth Fields on here, just won Worlds a few weeks ago. So
Main Street.
I know he's kind of racking them up. So looking forward to those conversations. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Q-Tip, Wade, we appreciate you. Love you guys. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, guys.